Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am making a return to my coverage of Marvel Multiverse RPG. I'm going to pick up where I left off with Chapter 4 Combat, but the reason why I'm making that return to covering this game system is that recently I found out that DM James, another fellow YouTuber out there, a great friend to the channel, and I love going to his channel and following along with him and his live streams. Recently, he stated that he was going to be running this game in the near future. And whether I invited myself to it or he invited me to join in on it, it's my first opportunity to play in this game system, as well as my first opportunity to play in a game that is run by DM James, a person that I greatly respect. I'm sure it's going to be a phenomenal experience. I'm really looking forward to it. So, Marvel Multiverse. So, going back a long, long way. This has been one of my favorite genres. I've always really enjoyed both tabletop role-playing games such as Vigilante City, Villains and Vigilantes. I'm sorry, Villains and Vigilantes. The second edition is the one that I cut my teeth on back in the early 1980s, and then my next introduction, like I played the Heroes Unlimited and the others that were during that same time frame, but I always fell back on Villains and Vigilantes. I did not at the time play the Marvel TSR's Marvel, even though I own it now. I didn't have it back then, or at least we didn't play it that back then. Our go-to was Villains and Vigilantes. Later on, I uh, I started playing City of Heroes back in 2004, probably as a playtester first, because back in that time, back in the early 2000s, I was actually doing a lot of alpha and beta testing within a variety of MMOs. There were quite a string of them, and I had built up a pretty decent reputation uh, as a beta tester in MMOs, and there's a slew of them that I actually worked on as early as alpha testing as well. So going back to City of Heroes, I created a character back then, Micro Ninja, who was basically just a super enhanced martial artist, but very very small, right? So and part of his flaws was that he was consistently shrinking in size as he was going up in levels and such. Now I couldn't completely recreate that in City of Heroes. I just made him super tiny in City of Heroes, but in MMOs, I'm sorry, not in MMOs, in tabletop role playing games, you could actually duplicate that. The next time that my character appeared in a game, in an official game product, was in Vigilante City from Bloat Games. And so Micro Ninja appears in one of the volumes of that 4-volume set as a superhero that you can utilize as an NPC or even play as a player character as you wish. So yeah, he's in there. I'm given full credit in there, and it was just a great opportunity to get my character out there. So when it comes to playing Marvel Multiverse, and I get to covering the chapter of character creation, I am certainly going to recreate that character for use in DM James's game, as long as he accepts it. Hopefully, he'll approve of it. But really looking forward to it. So, without further ado, let me go right into covering Chapter 4 Combat for Marvel Multiverse. Sorry, I'm mixing up the games in my head right now. So let's go to here and let's switch views. So here we go. So here's the PDF. I will expand this so you can see it as well. So ways to play. Theater of the mind. I'm going to skip over the initial thing. So ways to play. Theater of the mind. The default way to play the game is in the collective imagination of all of the players, otherwise known as theater of the mind. Most of the time, this works wonderfully well, as lots of role-playing game sessions consist of conversations and dramatic moments in which the characters' precise locations don't matter much. When the combat starts, though, things like the characters' relative positions become more important. Still, some groups can handle even the most complex combats in their heads. To do so, they treat locations, speeds, and ranges more as rough suggestions rather than restrictions, and they trust the narrator to rule on any edge cases fairly. This works especially well if players don't happen to be sitting around the table together, i.e. the way that I most often play, which is over the internet, so virtually. They can play the game wherever they happen to be, either online or in the same room. All they need to have on hand are their character sheets and dice. On a map. Many players, however, enjoy being able to see everything clearly on a map, often with miniatures representing each of the characters, their foes, and anyone else in the area. This can increase the drama of the moment, and it can make things things seem eminently fair, as everyone can see the exact situation on the table. It leaves a lot less room for quibbling. Some narrators like to use dry erase whiteboards on which they can draw a map of the combat. Otherwise, use roll-up vinyl battle mats, often with a grid printed on them. A dedicated few make massive printouts or even use computerized projections or gigantic screens. Also, if you're online, you could use a whiteboard online, whether it's Roll20 or something else, and use that screen, which is typically how I do it as well. Using miniatures, I'm not going to get too much into this, nitty gritty. Playing on the grid, so we get vertical movement. Characters can also move through an area vertically, whether flying, swimming, wall crawling, or by some other means, even just riding on an elevator. When under their own power, they can move up or down one space at the same time they would move horizontally. This doesn't cost them any extra movement. In general, each floor of a building is 2 spaces high. This can vary with the building, of course, but it is a good rule of thumb. All right, so there's some rules here on 3-dimensional movement, which is a really good idea to implement, because you actually find that kind of movement more so in a superhero's tabletop role-playing game than in others. Yes, D&D has flying and magic carpets and that kind of thing, but it is much less frequent than what you're going to find in a superhero's adventure RPG. So let's get to the actual thing here. So virtual tabletops, they do mention that there are various VTTs attached to marvel.com RPG, and so you can get various assets there for probably a number of virtual tabletops. Sequence of play. When the fight breaks out, here's how it works. You determine the positions, roll initiative checks to determine the initiative order, start the new round. Each character takes their turn in initiative order. If any combatants are still able and want to fight, go back to step 3. Otherwise, the combat ends. All right, so determining positions, basically you are going to describe where your character is in that moment, and then things will positions will change, and the situation will change as the combat kind of plays itself out. And this is usually a very dynamic thing and very, very helpful if everyone has a visual to see where where the various characters' positions are during the combat. And again, you can build elevation and whatnot, whether it's virtually or on your physical map in front of everybody. Line of sight is also another really important aspect. Excuse me. Another really important aspect to keep in mind. Earshot. Some powers and attacks require the character to be able to hear or speak to their target. This is called being in earshot. And yet another thing for the game master to manage in his or her head is to be like, well, if I'm dealing with a character here that powers are dependent upon what is in earshot, that's really important to keep in mind as well. Our range, some powers and attacks have a range listed in spaces. Any attack within the range are treated normally. Just roll for them like any other check. Any attacks up to double this range have trouble. Attacks beyond double the range are impossible. All right, so and then you will see there's examples of ranges that they give here, like 20 paces. Attacks targets within 20 paces are treated normally. 21 to 40, they have trouble, and beyond 40, so 41 plus, is out of range. Initiative. At the start of combat, each combatant makes an initiative check by rolling D616. All right, so this is using the 616 system, right? So you're rolling, you're rolling dice, 3 D6s basically, and it's called the 616. You want to roll, those dice in that particular order to see what your results are. The players each roll for their respective characters while the narrator rolls on the other characters. All right, so you're rolling side, and it's individualized initiative. Characters who get a fantastic result on the initiative check get to take part in a bonus round before the regular combat begins. They do so in the regular initiative order, skipping those who didn't get a fantastic roll. After they're done, the first regular round begins. All right, so Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Wolverine Logan run across Dr. Octopus and Sabretooth robbing a bank. Spider-Man and Wolverine's player characters make initiative checks for the characters while the narrator rolls for Dr. Octopus and Sabretooth. The results: Spider-Man 20, Sabretooth 17, Wolverine 15, and Dr. Octopus 14. Spider-Man gets to go first, and so on. Surprise. It's up to the narrator whether or not a given character is surprised, as this depends on a great deal on the circumstances of each situation, especially when things like illusions, mirages, invisibility, and darkness come into play. Characters who are surprised by their opponents when combat starts off have trouble on their initiative check, and surprised characters cannot act in a bonus round. If a character is surprised later in the combat, the character who surprised them have an edge on the attacks against the opponent. Taking the turn, so we're just going through the whole step-by-step process here of just determining turn. There are several elements that you keep in mind when doing this. There are certain things that are so fast that no action is required in order to do them. Then there are reactions. Each character also gets one reaction per round. A reaction can temporarily interrupt the initiative order to allow a character to respond to a trigger of some kind, whether it happens on their turn or someone else's. If a reaction interrupts another combatant's turn, The initiative order returns to the combatant after the reaction ends. Once a character takes a reaction, they can take another one until the turn. They cannot take another one until the start of their next turn. It is possible for a character to interrupt another character's reaction with their own reaction. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's up to the narrator to keep track of the proper sequence of the actions and reactions. So, believe it or not, this might sound very complex, and it might sound like it's kind of like a start and stop and stuttering in the action, but it should run smoothly. As you become much more familiar with the system, it should run smoothly for you, and you'll start to see that these things really do flow. I would venture that having a smaller group is going to be beneficial for this type of a combat system. All right, so having 6 at the table might be excluding like having 6 players at the table and then 1 game master at the table. A party of 6 might be a bit cumbersome for this kind of a combat system. Just my initial thoughts on this. Again, I haven't played this yet. I'm really looking forward to doing so to see how it plays out. Delaying things so you can hold a turn, you can reserve an action, you can, then you have your standard actions, and so here are your standard actions, right? You can attack, you can dodge, you can escape, you can grab, you can help, you can move, or you can use a power. Those are all standard actions. And then they go through what each of these are, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Escape, if the character is grabbed or pinned by another character, they can then attempt to break free. So that's when you would utilize escape. Helping out somebody else, all right, so oftentimes when you're assisting, they get a higher chance of success on their roll. Movement, so if the character likes, they can use their standard action to move just like they would with a movement action. This way they can move twice in a single round. So yeah, so you can use movement as a secondary action, and then use of a power always always impacts the amount of actions you can take. Reactions. You can escape, you can fastball special, help a teammate, interpose, ram, release, and skulk. And so escape I already kind of covered previously. Fastball special. An ally throws or fires the character at an enemy and the ally succeeds at their agility check. In fact, the character makes a close attack at the enemy they were thrown at or fired at. If the attack is successful, the enemy takes double damage. If the attack is a fantastic success, the enemy takes triple damage. All right, so yeah, if you're throwing the dwarf at somebody, basically helping a teammate, the trigger a teammate, someone on the same team as the character as listed on their character sheets fails an action check. The teammate gains an edge on that action check. Interpose, which means you're kind of blocking off somebody from taking damage. Ramming, releasing, something the character is grabbing, moves on, or attacks. The character can release what they are grabbing. Okay, and skulk. The character is a target of an attack, and someone within their range is not the target of that attack. The character moves for free behind a nearby person. All right, so you're basically using somebody else as a shield. Movement actions, we get into basic speeds, combining modes. Characters can combine 2 or more modes of travel in the same movement action. So you could be flying, you land, and then you move again. Gliding, swinging, swing lining. Swing lining consists of swinging from place to place, like Spider-Man. All right, teleporting, lifting and carrying, sneaking and hiding, towing. Sometimes a character grabs or pins a target at the end of the length of the line of a rope, chain, or web line. Okay. Terrain, falling prone, falling, so falling damage. If a character hits something when they land, they and whatever they hit takes health damage. To calculate the damage, the narrator makes a standard action check. The damage multiplier for the roll is 1 for every 3 spaces fallen, up to a maximum damage modifier of 20. You have controlled landing, you have odd landings, and you have diving. Dealing damage. So damage types. There are 2 types of damage. Physical injuries cause health damage, and mental injuries cause focus damage. Health damage is deducted from the target's health, and focus damage is deducted from their focus. All right. Effects of damage. If a character's health is reduced to below 1, they are knocked unconscious. Any powers they were concentrating on and immediately. While unconscious, a character cannot take any actions. Their defense against range attack is reduced to 10, and close attacks automatically hit them. If a character's health is reduced to negative value equal in magnitude to their maximum health or worse, they are killed. So let's say you have 20 health points and you're brought to negative 20, you're dead. If the character's focus is reduced to 0, they are demoralized. Any conditions or powers they were concentrating on and immediately when demoralized, they have trouble on all actions. If their focus is reduced to negative, equal to the magnitude of their maximum focus or worse, they are shattered, frozen in place by fear and stress. Stacking damage multipliers. Things that grant bonus to damage multipliers do not stack. This means that they do not add up together. If you have 2 or more multipliers that can apply in a situation, the largest one takes effect and the others do not. All right, so you don't have a stack upon stack upon stack of multipliers where things become crazy amount of damage that you can take. Fantastic damage. If a character gets a fantastic success on a close combat check, the attack does double damage. In addition, characters has the mighty power. They can deal knockback to the target as well. Damage reduction. Some powers and equipment grant damage reduction. This is expressed by a number like damage reduction 2. When calculating damage that an attack does, someone with damage reduction reduces the damage multiplier by the amount of the damage reduction. Knockback. If a character with the mighty power gets a fantastic success on a close attack, the character has the option of dealing knockback to the target instead. If the character is attacking with an additional power, they must choose between the power's standard effect beyond double damage and applying knockback. Holding back. Most heroes don't want to kill anyone. As such, unless their player expressly says otherwise, an attack a character with a heroic tag makes that would kill a target instead leaves the target with 1 point away from dying. Similarly, most heroes don't want to shatter anyone. Any attack a character with a heroic tag makes that would shatter a target instead leaves the target 1 point away from being shattered. The narrator can overrule this in certain circumstances, however, so players should be careful with how their character attacks others. If the character drops a building on a crowd, for instance, they shouldn't expect to cause not to cause any casualties. All right, so yeah, the narrator will modify that based on common sense, basically. We have common weapons here, and additional weapons, recovery. So lethal versus non-lethal damage, we kind of covered that already. Healing and recovery. So healing. After a tough day of combat, characters want to get back into full fighting form. A character who is not dead or shattered regains lost health and focus equal to the character's rank every hour they take it easy. All right, so you heal up your rank every hour. So if you're rank 3, you're going to gain 3 points every hour of kind of taking it easy. Recovery, if a character wants to recover faster, they can spend a point of karma to make that happen instantly during combat. This requires an action. All right, so you can spend your karma in order to basically fast heal, even in combat. Unconscious. Hold on, sorry about that. Unconscious character awakens when their health is higher than 0. Same thing with demoralized and killed. A character is killed, they are removed from the play permanently. Well, permanently, death is often not the final word in Marvel Multiverse. Some characters have powers and traits that can restore them to life. Then we get into a bunch of conditions. I'm not going to go into that vast amount of detail during this. This is kind of an overview video of it. And let's see. Attacking objects. Wow, that got very blurry. The PDF for me got blurry on this page. That's interesting. Let's see how that follows through. Hopefully just for those 2 pages. Yes. For some reason, these 2 pages are printed blurry. Not unreadable, but certainly blurrier than the other ones. Very weird. But anyway, I will stop it there. And so as you can see, there seems to be a lot of action taking place, which kind of makes sense for a superhero tabletop role-playing game. And you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. I have to refresh how the 616 system works, you know, once again, and you know, put it to practice. So when I get to the next video in this series of character creation, I'm going to go through and just talk about how I will gear towards recreating that character, Micro Ninja, that I've always, you know, that I've used in multiple game systems, and see how that turns out. So be on the lookout for that coming up within the next week or so. And you know, as always, thank you for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe and like and comment in the comments section. DM James, I will be sharing this with DM James, so this will be shared through that new feature on YouTube, and so both his viewers and mine will be seeing this, as well as some other individuals that I share my videos out to. So be on the lookout for those, and if you get a, you know, if you see in mine a link to DM James, certainly go over there and follow his channel as well. So as always, thanks for joining in. I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon or at a convention. And yeah, just keep on looking for different games for yourself to participate in, games that you've never played before. You know, so seize on any opportunity you have to play in a new game system out there, and even more importantly, to run new game systems as well. So thanks for joining. You all have a great rest of your afternoon. Take care.